Welcome back to another Warcry Heroes episode of Optimal Game State. Today we're looking at the final Grand Alliance, Destruction. Destruction has all the Orks, Goblins, Trolls and Ogres. There are 5 warbands within the Alliance. The Bone Splitters, Rangin Rooks, who are the Savage Orcs. The Gloomspite Gits Sneaky Scraps, who are the Goblins. The Ogre Moth Tribe's Wandergluts, who are the Ogres. The Cruel Boys Kill a Mob, who are the Swamp Orcs, and the Iron Jaws Crush a Mob, who are the Classic Orcs. There is also the Gobapalooza Goblins, which count as additional fighters for the Gloomspite Gits, but as additional allies for all the other Destruction heroes. We can immediately see that this is an aggressive alliance. Like the Death Grand Alliance, there aren't a lot of heroes, so numbers tend to skew, but we can see a big spike at 7 damage, and 3 heroes doing 12 plus damage, which is impressive. The wounds have that typical spike at 20, but we're also seeing a similar amount at 30 and a number at 40, which will be nice and chunky. Movement is almost all move 4, with about 6 heroes at 3, 8 and 10 each. So the majority of this faction is going to be plodding along with the baseline 4 move. Strength and toughness are, as expected, typically 4. The damage plot is very aggressive. If you want, you can have a look at the Optimal Game State website, where you can see the previous hero articles and look at the damage plots there. Out of all of them, this looks closest to the Chaos heroes, but obviously with less heroes overall. I've marked a few notable jumps. The Ardboy boss, the Savage Orc Moor boss, the Orc Mega boss, the Crusher and the Tyrant all look very interesting already. Looking at the top 5 damage dealers, we can see they're dominated by the Ogres, with only the Orc Mega boss getting a look in. These are all over 30 wounds, with 2 in the 40s. All damage is on average 10 plus versus T4, with all apart from the slower Mega boss at move 4. Of course, all of this comes with expensive points, and these heroes take about a quarter up to a third of your total overall. For context, the top Chaos hero does 11.6 damage, the top Order hero does 9.33, and the top Death hero does 7.33. So the Destruction heroes are head and shoulders above the rest when it comes to pure damage. 4 of these heroes are from the Ogre Moth Tribe's warband, and they all have the hero and brute rune marks. The brute rune mark in this case was used to distinguish between the ogres and the non-ogres in the warband, like the Frost Saber and Noblar. All of the ogres have a reaction, Quick Bite, that can be triggered when they are attacked. If there are no crits, then the attacker takes 3 damage and the defender heals 3 damage. Pretty reliable and a decent effect. With these big heroes though, you're more likely to save the action to attack back. They also have the double On the Maw Path that will increase their move by 3 for the next move action, which is really good. These are all move 4 fighters, so you're almost getting a free move action out of it. Extra mobility as a double is always nice to see. Finally, the brutes all have the charge effect Bull Charge, which is a triple that does damage equal to the value of the triple to a nearby enemy after a move. It's nice that this is reliable damage. If you know you have an enemy on 4 wounds and you see a double 4 in your pool, you know you can add a wild die to that to guarantee an easy kill. In addition to the brute rune mark, all these ogres are heroes, and they all have access to the double Might is Right. This is one of my favourite kinds of abilities on a big damage dealer. If they kill an enemy, this double gives them an extra move or attack. A bonus action for a double is amazing, and as all of these heroes are absolute beatsticks, it'll be relatively easy to trigger it, and you'll get maximum value out with that next action. Alright, let's look a little bit more in depth in the fighters. Top of the pack is the Tyrant at 315. This is a super expensive model, and you'd normally expect to see this with a mount. Damage is top tier. This is actually a low level monster type damage, and is the highest damage of any fighter that's not a monster. Against T4, it's joint first place. Against T5, the Tyrant is alone, and against T3 fighters, it comes in 3rd place behind the Stormfiends. So this is a lot of kill. In addition, that melee is coming with reach 2 and 42 wounds with toughness 5, so it's going to take a while to kill a tyrant. On the off chance that move 4 isn't enough to get you into melee, there is also a range attack, although with an average of 2.6 damage, it's not that exciting. The extra rune mark is Champion, which gives access to the triple Bully of the First Degree. This lets you give a nearby friendly a bonus move or attack action at the cost of a small amount of damage. The ability range is quite tight at 2 inches, but a bonus action for triple is great, and this ability is looking for a low value triple, which pairs it quite nicely with Bolt Charge, which is looking for high value. Next up we have the Crusher at 70 points less. A lot simpler with 10 less wounds and toughness 4. The melee attack is still great, slight drop at T5 is down to 10 average damage, which is still an insane number. The Bulwark rune mark opens up the double ability Iron Fist, which is a classic throw ability. 2 dice with 3 to 5 doing 1 damage, and any 6s doing dice value damage. The range is only 1 inches though. It is an option if you didn't have the triple for a Bolt Charge and couldn't get to the target in one move with on the Maw Path. If you do manage to get an attack though, this ability needs to be at least a double 3 to beat out the generic Onslaught. The Gutlord at 280 is somewhere in between and doesn't have any extra abilities. He does have reach 2 and is a little better against T5 targets than the Crusher. The Orc Megaboss is the cheapest in this list at 225, and with good reason, as he has move 3. At 35 wounds and T5, going to be tough to take down, and that 10 damage across the board would be top tier in any other alliance. To make up for the slow movement, he does have the double charge, which will give him a bonus move towards an enemy, and the triple Wah, which will add half the ability value to the move of nearby fighters, including the Megaboss. You'll typically be fishing for this turn 1 when you're double moving, and a triple 5 or 6 will essentially double the move of the Megaboss, giving you almost a bonus turn with them, which is massive. And that's ignoring the benefits the ability will give other nearby fighters. He also has a slightly better version, Mighty Wah, with range 9, but it is a quad instead. The last hero is the Icebrow Hunter, who's the same price as the Gutlord, but comes with 8 more wounds, a ranged option, which is slightly better than the Tyrants at 3.33 average. The extra rune mark is Scout, which opens up the double Lead the Skal, which will give a nearby beast a bonus attack action. That's a little limited though, as only the Frost Saber for Ogre Maw Tribe, or Squigs for Gloomspite Gits are beasts in the Grand Alliance. Okay, let's shift that to most efficient rather than raw damage. So these are the destruction heroes that give you the most bang for your buck. First up we have the Crusher, who we've mentioned before. We can also see the Gutlord in 3rd place and the Orc Megaboss in 5th place. So all 3 of these are insanely high damage but also pretty cost effective. The 2 new options both come from the Orks, although one from the Ironjaws and the other from the Savages. The Arboy boss with Arboy Choppas, like the Megaboss, has the charge and Wah abilities, but not the quad. Damage is 7.33, which is fantastic, especially for the cheap 135 points. That's a damage bracket where many of the bespoke heroes for the Chaos Warbands sit, which is a healthy place. It's also the top level damage for the Death faction heroes, so it will get a lot of work done. It's essentially a budget Megaboss, but that's no bad thing. If we strip out the 2 Orcs and their move 3, then we get 2 new options, the Tyrant and the Fellwater Drugget. Seeing the Tyrant again is reassuring, as it suggests we're getting good value for your points, although it should be said that there are only 50 heroes in total to pick from, so it's all kind of relative. The Fellwater Drugget is particularly interesting though, as this is a Thrall and not a hero, so you can have up to 3 Thralls in a match play game and they do not conflict with your hero selection. Like the Thralls in other factions, this Drugget is a big, massive bruiser. We'll get more into Thralls later. Quick look at the wounds plot. For the most part, the fighters are chunky. A few of the ones we've already spoken about have been marked and are particularly good value. Trying to factor in wounds, I've got this lineup. It's still heavily favouring good damage, which is why we're seeing so many familiar faces. But this does also highlight how great these fighters are for wounds. The new addition is the Brugit from the Gobapalooza. This is a particularly interesting warband, as it's not really a warband at all. These fighters, 5 in total, are considered to be normal fighters for the Gloomspite Gits, and allies for every other destruction faction. The one we've got on this list is the Brugit, cheap at 70 points with relatively decent damage and wounds. 2.66 damage and 12 wounds isn't very impressive compared to what we've just recently seen, but a fighter around the 75 point mark, you'd hope for 9 wounds and 3 average damage. Apart from the average stats, the Brugit also has a particularly interesting ability, a double called Loonshine Potion. This lets you pick a nearby fighter and give them an extra 3 dice to their next attack. The more damage a fighter does, and the less dice they roll to do it, the more damage this ability will add. It also frees up the target to use another ability, stacking that with the Loonshine Potion. So if you have 2 doubles, you can have the Brugit use the potion and the target use Onslaught to get her another dice. Alternatively, you could have the Brugit to take a wait action first, and then a normal action later, letting you use the Loonshine Potion twice, give a total of +6 dice when your fighter gets around attacking. Dropping the 3 move gets us another Goblin fighter, Scaremonger, and the second Thrall, Rockgut Truggath. The Scaremonger has slightly better damage and wounds than the Brugit. His ability is a triple that gives a nearby target +3 move for the round. It's a great effect, but alas it's a triple. On the plus side, as a Goblin, he's just another fighter for the Gloomspite Warband. The last spot is the Rockgut Truggath, which is 10 more expensive than the Fellwater Truggath, has 1 more toughness and slightly better damage. Apart from that, it's basically the same. The next section we're going to look at is fighters with fly. Maneuverability is big in the game, and a fast fighter with fly is going to be able to get where they need to be. Preferably, we would like that to be a big damage fighter, so it can solve problems for us. With destruction, our options are limited. The only heroes with fly in the game are these 3 gobos on squigs. We have the Squig Hopper Boss, the Bounder Boss, and the Loon Boss on Giant Cave Squig. These are all pretty expensive, with the cheapest at 245 points. You're getting fly and at least 8 move though, along with a chunky 20 or more wounds. These 3 are ordered in damage efficiency, with the Squig Hopper Boss coming out top at 255 points for 6.66 damage. If you want max damage, you're looking at the Loon Boss. Notably, the Loon Boss and Bounder Boss do both have reach 2, along with a slightly higher toughness of 5, although they do lose the extra 2 move. All of these have the same rune marks, so they all share the same abilities. The double Backstabbing Mob can only be used if they're beside a friendly, but it will give them +1 attack and +1 strength for the turn, making it a slight upgrade to Onslaught. The triple Stab 'em Good will give an extra attack to nearby friendlies, but as it's visible only, the fighter using it won't benefit from it. The triple Madcap Destruction is kind of fun, giving an extra move, but the distance is random, and you roll another d6 and double it to work that out. It does have a nice bonus of doing damage to a nearby enemy equal to the value of that d6. It's random, but you can rely on it for at least a 2-inch move. Some nice abilities, but largely you're looking at these guys for their raw speed and damage. Interestingly, none of them are considered mounted, so presumably the squigs are in charge. If we drop out of the fly category and instead just look for fast fighters, this is what we get. Remember, destruction does not have any heroes in the move 5 to 7 bracket. We're immediately into mounted fighters with 8 and 10 speed. Apart from the squigs, all of these are mounted and come with the usual issues. Depending on the terrain, that could mean nothing or it could be a disaster. Top of the list, we have the Savage Boss Maniac. This is a half-naked orc riding a boar. Move 10, great damage, lots of wounds. As a Savage Orc, he has similar abilities to have the Iron Jaws, so you've got Charge and you've got Wah. As a mount, the Savage Boss Maniac also has a charge-like ability called Tusker Charge, assigning dice value damage to a nearby target at the end of a move. In the second slot, we have Skalg, an ogre riding a Mournfang, whatever that might be. Leader, Brute, and mounted rune marks, so as a ogre, pretty vanilla. Very similar to the Tyrant, but with lower damage at 10, but far better move at 8. The Gorgrunta boss with Pig Iron Choppa is basically a mega boss on a pig. The Ferocious rune mark opens up the triple Gorgunta charge ability, just another charge variant. Like the Savage boss, the charge and Wah options are still there. The Killa boss gives us a first look at the Swamp Orks. The Gnash Tooth, I think, is some sort of rat of unusual size. Damage is great. 28 wounds and 5 toughness means this fighter will be very hard to kill, while the 8 move will have it zooming across the board. The Warrior Rune Mark will open up the double Venom Encrusted Weapon, which will increase hits and crits by 1. As this fighter has 5 dice, that will actually be a healthy amount of damage, increasing the average by 2.5. Unlike some variants of Venom, this won't actually last for the full activation, so you can get 2 attacks out of it. There is also a double unique to this fighter, Bone Crushing Bite, where you roll dice equal to half the value of the ability and do 3 damage for each 3+. So you'll be rolling 1 to 3 dice with each ability on average doing 2 damage. So a double 1 or double 2 will be best used in Venom. A double 3 or double 4 will be best used in Venom when you get 2 attacks, and Bite will be the preferred option with a double 5 or 6. Looking at the move 10 fighters, we get an extra Savage Boss on board, a Weird Knob on board, and 2 Spider Riders. The Savage Boar Boss has the exact same abilities as the Maniac, but a little less damage for points discount. The Scuttle Boss comes with reach of 2 and a decent 6 damage, along with the usual combo abilities. The Spider Riders come with the triple Spider Bite. This is similar to Bone Crushing Bite, but instead of a double, it's a triple. And instead of rolling half dice, you get to roll all of them. And instead of a 3+, it's a 4+. While it is trickier to get a decent number of dice on a triple, the damage is 1.5 per dice. So overall, this peaks out at 6 dice, doing an average of 9 damage in total. Maniac Weird Knob also has reach, and a mounted Savage Orc hero gets the same ability as the Boar Boss. The Weird Knob also has a ferocious double ability, Weird Squig, which will add 1 to missile attacks. To go along with that, the Weird Knob has a range 7 attack, which will do on average 3 damage to T4. As the attack only has 2 dice, the extra dice from the ability will bring that average to 4.5. Last in 6th place, as there are only 6 who qualify for this, we have the Spider Rider Boss. 6 points less than the Scuttle Boss, with half the damage and 8 less wounds. You do get a ranged attack as an option with an average damage of 2. As we move over to the range damage, a few reminders for myself for context. One of the big advantages of the ranged fighters is that they usually don't have to move to get an attack, and often can double attack where a melee fighter will only be able to get a single. The top ranged fighter in the game is the Judicar for the Stormcast Warriors, with 6.66 damage on average against T4. And the most efficient is the Grunstock Thunderer from the Caradhran Overlords, who has 6 damage for 130 points. The top damage of the range section here is dominated by the Ogres. These are all expensive, with the cheapest 215 points. We've already mentioned some of the generic Ogre abilities. Each of the Ogre fighters here have an additional rune mark, opening up a new ability. The Butcher has the Mystic rune mark, which gets him a double that heals up to the value of the ability. The Firebelly has the Frenzied rune mark, which gives a quad Fire Breath, doing ability value as damage to nearby enemy fighters. The Thunderfist has the Destroy rune mark, which gives another quad Thunderous Blast of Hot Metal that will add 3 to the strength and attack dice of the next missile attack. That doubles the dice before you even factor into strength. So that's like an extra action, but you're normally looking for a little more as a quad. Last from the Ogres, we have the Icebrow Hunter with the Scout rune mark, which gives access to the Lead the Scal that will give an extra attack to a beast. All the Ogres are pretty chunky and have good melee damage. The range attack is a nice bonus option to have, and the damage is decent enough that you might be better off using it for 2 attacks rather than a move attack in melee. The 5th option we have here is the Fungoid Cave Shaman, doing an average 3 damage up to range 7. The Mystic rune mark gives the Shaman a triple Magic Spore Maws, with a chance to do damage to all nearby enemy fighters. Switching over to damage per points, things shift. Unsurprisingly, damage is down, but so are points. The top is the Hobgrot boss, doing 2.66 ranged damage for 70 points. It's only got 8 wounds and 3 toughness. The range is a bit lackluster at only 5. With just the hero and warrior rune marks, there aren't really any special abilities opened up. But as this hero is so cheap, the Cruel Boy's reaction Cunning Trap is a good option. It's a little tricky to activate, as the target needs to move and end up within 3 inches of the Hobgrot. and then you need another fighter within 3 inches of the Hobgrot who can attack the target. If you can make it work though, trading a Hobgrot boss action for a Mega Boss attack is a great deal. In second place, we've got the Fungoid Cave Shaman, who we've just talked about. Then we have the Web Spinner Shaman, almost identical to the Cave Shaman, with the only difference being the rune mark. Rather than Mystic, the Web Spinner has the Priest rune mark, which gives a double Speed of the Spider God, which unfortunately only works on heroes with the Destroyer rune mark, but it does give those +1 move for the round. In the Gloomspite Gits, the Spider Riders have Destroyer. For the Savage Orcs, it's Arrow Boys, for the Cruel Boys, it's the Potgrot, and for the Ogres, it's the Thunderfist. So there are options, but nothing that really stands out. Then we have the Butcher and the Firebelly, but again, this might be an indication of a small pool of ranged heroes rather than actual efficiency. Notably though, the Hobgrot boss is one of the most efficient ranged damage fighters in the game, along with the non-hero Hobgrot Slida, so maybe there is a ranged list in there somewhere. Next up we have the Thralls. In a match play game you can have up to 3 Thralls and they do not conflict with the number of heroes you can take, so this is a nice bonus to have. Thralls are Grand Alliance specific, so any of the Destruction warbands can use the Destruction Thralls but cannot use any of the other Grand Alliance's Thralls. Destruction have 2 Thralls, both are Troggoths and quite similar in most regards. We're looking at high damage, lots of wounds, and a double that will heal them up. They're both very expensive at 175 and 185 points. As the Troggoths have so many wounds and hit so hard, I doubt their reaction is ever going to be worth it, although it is a nice option to have. The Fellwater Troggoth does have a double Noxious Vomit, which essentially is a thrown attack. You roll dice equal to the value, and for each 5+ you get to do some damage. So you're looking at an average 1 hit per 3 dice. Damage is D3 though, which is nice, and you can split 2 targets. In theory, you're getting 0.5 damage on average per dice rolled. Just using Onslaught is going to get the Fellwater Troggoth 1.8 extra damage on average, so you'll need at least a double 4 if you're in melee to get actual value out of this. But with range 6 and the ability to resolve it across multiple targets, it is a nice option to have. Out of the 4 alliances, Order don't have any Thralls, and Chaos and Death have relatively cheap, fast fighters who aren't doing a lot of damage. Destruction flips this with these big guys. In a faction with Orks and Ogres, they've got a lot of competition, but they're perfect support for the Gloomspite Gits, and to a lesser extent the Cruel Boys, who don't have as many big killer options. Up to now we've been looking top down, working through the numbers and trying to figure out the fighters that appear to be interesting out of that. There is however another way of approaching this, first looking at the abilities of interest, and then which fighters can use those abilities, so more of a bottom-up approach. The first ability we have to look at is a double Mesmerize from the Boggle Eye Gobbo. This is a classic net ability. It's limited in range by the value of the dice, and it only works on 3+, so it's not super reliable, but it's only a double, and from a relatively cheap 70-point model. This is a Gobbapalooza model, so Gloomspite Gits can take it as a fighter. The other fighter option for them is the Stabber with Barbed Net, which is cheaper at 55 with half the wounds. The Stabber's ability is almost identical, but with a fixed range of 3. Also from Gobbapalooza, we have the Brugit, who I really like. This little guy as a double can boost the next attack of a nearby friendly. If you have 2 doubles, you could wait with the Brugit and give someone +6 attacks. Depending on the fighter, that's likely to be some insane value. Next up we have the Wa ability, which just requires a leader with either the Ironjaw or Savage Orc warband. The ability is exactly the same between them. Here I picked out the Morboy boss and the Mega boss, as we've seen them already. This is especially big for the Ironjaws, who have a few 3-move fighters. A triple on turn 1 will let that deployment group get a lot of extra movement. The range is only 6 inches though, so you have to be careful with your initial movement, as the fighter using this will need to limit their movement to make sure others can benefit. Both warbands also have a quad variant of this, which sets the bonus to 3 and increases the range to 9, which is pretty big. Might even be able to boost 2 movement groups with this ability. It is a quad though, and while you can pretty reliably get a triple turn 1, You can't say that about a quad, making this ability very cool but a lot less reliable. Luckily, the heroes who have access to this also have access to the normal WoW ability. Going back to the Orks, there's actually a net option for the Brute boss if he takes the Boss Claw. This tribble, that grab and bash, is likely to be used at the end of an activation where this scary fighter didn't take down an enemy. No range or reach means the target is going to get the hit back, but the Brute boss has toughness 5 and 30 wounds, so they're going to take a while to get through that. As an added bonus, if you do roll a 6, the Brute gets to attack as well, which at 7.5 average damage is really big. The next ability I have here is for the Bolt Boy boss. It is a bit niche, but I wanted to see how big an impact the double aim shot would be. The most used damage ability is the double onslaught, but it's for melee only, so any ranged ability is always worth examining. The average range damage for this fighter feels low, but is actually kind of mid-range. Remember, the top range damage in the game is 6.66, so while 3 isn't great, it's also not terrible, and the range of 15 actually is fantastic. The ability essentially doubles the damage, turning one attack into an average of 6 damage. So with a double and 2 attacks at range 15, this fighter is able to put down an average of 9 damage, which is actually quite good. Last up, we have the Tyrant. Outside of a monster, this is the top damage you can get. This guy is hard to kill with 5 toughness and 42 wounds, and even has reach of 2 on his melee, keeping him safe while attacking. The only really downsides are the expensive price tag of 315 and the 4 move. The generic Ogre ability on the Maw Path helps out with that, giving +3 for 1 move for a double. There's more though. This fighter also has 2 fantastic abilities. The first, a double, Might Makes Right, gives an extra move or attack when, and with the Tyrant it really is a when, not an if, he gets a kill. He also has a triple, Bully of the First Degree, which will give another fighter a small amount of damage to be able to take an extra attack or move. Pretty frustrating that you can't use it on himself, but it is an extra action and those always are important. And that's a lot. Destruction really have some of the nastiest fighters in the game. They do cost lots of points though, so you have difficult decisions to make. A destruction list often seems to be 2 or 3 really nasty fighters supported by some cheap fighters like the Noblars or the Goblin Netters. You can do a super elite warband with all chunky killers, and while you'll be limited in numbers, it is super fun to play. Thanks for making it all the way to the end. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Each week I put up a new video talking about one of Games Workshop's specialist games. The goal is always to try and make the best possible 2-player experience. If this is something you'd find interesting, please subscribe to the channel and comment to let me know what you'd like to see in future.